who comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
We made it. Sorry, I'm a little late. We're going to get into Tradition 3 today. Why not? It's the third month. All right. I'm going to go blow my nose real quick. I'm back. I usually have a reason. There was, well, I went to Happy Treasures. Go to Happy Treasures noon on the weekend. Used to go during the week, and there again, actually, that's great leeway. I stopped going because there was too much power, too much control, people abusing the system, running people out of AA because they want to be assholes, all sorts of shit. It is clear that a lot of these AA meetings running do not understand the traditions. And they especially don't seem to understand this one. Just because you are hosting or co-hosting a meeting and you don't let somebody in because you don't like them, that goes against traditions, and you should shut down your meeting immediately because you're an asshole. And I've been getting complaints lately from people saying, oh, I'm not being let into this meeting. I'm not, and it has to do with their name. I mean, it's not cool. It's not cool. In fact, I may show up to that meeting tomorrow. And they don't let me in. Oh, well, there's always the in-person group conscience that I can just go to. I can speak my mind there if I want to. In fact, the reason I started the grassroots meeting is because there were a lot of people that were dissatisfied with AA because of the way that it was being run. But they didn't really know what to do. They didn't know how to make the changes. They didn't know how to do these things. I have to say, hi Michelle, hi Mr. CJ. I have to say that the traditions are just as important as the steps, and we got to know them. It's a part of the program. It's the way that AA works. I'm going to tell you now, if I had the choice of kicking people out of meetings, 90% of them wouldn't fucking be there. Everybody with a camera off, gone. That'd be my first thing. But Dion doesn't run AA. Thank God. I know I'm so mean. All right. If you came in and you dumped, I'd boot you. If you're in a closed meeting and you say addict alcoholic, I'm booting you. See? Does it sound right? Does it sound right? Probably not to you. To me, it sounds perfectly fine. I don't always think that way. I'm just kind of bringing up examples without trying to kind of point a finger, So let's get into Tradition 3. I will have to say this will probably be pretty opinionated. Dion's grumpy, and he feels like bitching a little bit. Welcome to Daily Trudge. I'm Dion. Yeah. It's because I earlier this morning, I saw a friend, it's her birthday weekend. People are treating her like shit. A sponsee sends me a message. Hey, I tried to go to this meeting, they wouldn't let me in, or they didn't let, things like that. And it's bullshit, man. So, but welcome to Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. It's always good to say hello to the man. That being me. I'm only the man in this case of the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm a man. That's the only real qualification there. Yeah. And it's one of the main reasons that I started the grassroots meeting, because I can either go to these other meetings and bitch and complain, and I've tried to do that, where I go to the group conscious and I try and help them make changes, right? Another thing I'm getting a little tired of is this: utilizing Zoom meetings to pay the rent for in-person meetings. No, that is against the fucking traditions. It is against the traditions, no matter what. Well, thanks, CJ. I appreciate that. Pastor Marcia just stopped by. She was dropping off a card for Shannon's ex-husband had passed away. That's how she is. Pastor Marcia is an awesome. The only reason I'm thinking about making the grassroots meetings open is so that she can join. She has a desire to quit drinking. She's not an alcoholic though. But it was kind of funny because my wife called me scary at one point, and so I've been giving her crap about that. I said, well, if we were trapped in the woods, would you rather be with me or a bear? She didn't get it. So, oh, so if you went to a UK meeting there, did you? Well, maybe we could go ahead and do it that way. We certainly could, we might. So, I'm British. I'm British. It's my nationality. I'm British. So, you can tell by my fucked up teeth. Oh, you don't ever see them. Yeah, I hide them on purpose. All right. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. This tradition is packed with meaning. For AA is really saying to every serious drinker, you are a member if you say so. We're one of the only places that membership is by your say so. Alcoholism is one of the only diseases where self-diagnosis is the only true diagnosis because of denial. Okay. Otherwise, before that, they'll say that you have alcohol use disorder, which just means you don't know that when it comes to alcohol, once you start drinking, you can't stop, or the consequences of your drinking are pretty bad. There's a few variables there, right? Because AA helps everybody from the sober curious to the chronic alcoholic. We help all of them. Yes, we do. A lot of people that come into meetings that are trying to figure out whether they're alcoholics or not. Absolutely, there are. So that's why the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. You can declare yourself in. Nobody can keep you out. You cannot remove people from meetings. You might be able to ban them from the building, okay, but I think it's gonna have to be a pretty darn big reach. I mean, something bad is really gonna have to happen, like some physical violence, mental violence, emotional violence. You bet. I go for those too. Maybe there's a guy there and he's hitting on the girls. Well, did anybody pull this guy aside? We always use guys. If you think I haven't been 13th step in this program, you're wrong. I was very much 13th step when I was younger and in this program. Several times. Okay. So it works both ways, my friends. It works both ways. I'm not going to get into sexuality and things like that. People are allowed to dress how they want. Your body is your own. But, put the girls out there, the boys are going to look at them. Just saying. They can't help themselves. Can't help themselves. All right. No matter who you are, no matter how low you've gone, no no matter how, so let's go back to that person, that guy or girl that's 13th stepping. Did anybody pull them aside and show them a different way? Because see, they're lonely and they're clamoring to fill that hole in their stomach. Is that what we're trying to go after, or are we trying to be protective? Okay. Now I love AA, I do, but it is not a safe space. It is not a safe space. Okay. At the same time, we don't take our problems to the AA group. That is not where problems are solved. All right. Now we may bring up a problem and get advice on it, things like that. But there's a difference between bringing up a problem, okay, and dumping. Dumping is they did all this. Bringing up a problem is, hey, this happened and I'm not handling it very well. There's a big difference in that. A big difference in that. You go to any meetings where somebody has the same freaking problem every week. It's always the same problem. That's dumping in a meeting, and it's not a topic. I'm not going to give you advice on how to handle your neighbor. I don't know what to do because it takes two to tango, and I'm pretty sure I ain't getting the full story. In fact, I know I'm not. Now, if you come in and say, I'm having a problem with, what can I do? What can I do to help make this situation better? What can, now we're talking. Got to get to solution, right? No matter how no matter how grave your emotional complications, even your crimes, we cannot deny you. We cannot deny you, AA. We don't want to keep you out. Yeah. We aren't a bit afraid you'll harm us. Never mind how twisted or violent you may be. We just want to be sure that you get the same great chance for sobriety that we've had. So you're an AA member the minute you declare yourself. Do we truly believe that? Do we truly, truly believe that? Now, why would we be able to make such a bold statement? Courage. It's courage. God. But for the grace of God go I. We understand they're a child of God, and maybe they did go through some things. Maybe they have some DV convictions. That's pretty scary shit for somebody that's been in DV, right? I know. It's also partly facing our fears. It's a lot easier to get away with that in Zoom. Oh, I didn't see you come into the room, even though it displays it right on your screen. I've been co-hosting since it came out and co-hosting. So to establish this principle of membership took years of harrowing experience. In our early time, nothing seemed so fragile, so breakable as an AA group. Hardly an alcoholic we approached paid any attention. Most of us who did join us were like flickering candles in the windstorm. Time after time, their uncertain flames blew out and couldn't be relighted. Our unspoken constant thought was, which one of us may be next? A member gives us a vivid glimpse of those days. At one time, he said, every AA group had many membership rules. Everybody was scared witless that something or somebody would capsize the boat and dump us all back into the drink. Our foundation office asked each group to send its list of protective regulations. The list was a mile long. If all those rules had been in effect everywhere, nobody could have possibly joined AA at all. So great was the sum of our fear and anxiety. Now, protective regulations. Protective is got quotations around it. Protective, we call that now safe spaces. You want to feel protected and safe and secure. Sure, we all do, but that only comes from one place. You're your only safe space. Everything else, everybody else kind of has a judgment. Might be good, might be bad. Not always. They don't always have a judgment. Not always judging people. I do get intrusive thoughts. Think I don't? Yes, I do. I think I'm grumpy all the time. I, well, I think I'm a grumposaurus half the time. So great was the sum of our anxiety and fear. Fear what? What are you really afraid of? That they're not going to do it the way that you want them to do it? You're going to lose something, that you might change your mind. You might learn something. I don't know. What is the real fear here? You know, we resolved to admit nobody to AA but that hypothetical class of people turned pure alcoholics. Okay? By those rules, 90% of the people in the program would not have qualified. No. Not unless you were laid up in a bed at the hospital or insane asylum. You had to become a true chronic alcoholic. Right? When I was 18, I wouldn't have qualified. At 45, I would have. Except for their guzzling and the unfortunate results thereof, they could have no other complications. So beggars, tramps, asylum inmates, prisoners, queers, plain crackpots, and fallen women were definitely out. So even women. Well, yes, we'd cater only to the pure, respectable alcoholics. Any other words would surely destroy us. Besides, if we took in those odd ones, what would decent people say about us? We built a fine mesh fence around AA. You know, I find that the ones that they listed here and the odd ones tend to make more of a difference than the other ones. They tend to go further. They tend to help more people. They tend to be more altruistic because they have to do more in order to get to the same place as the other ones. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I'm one of those odd ones. Maybe this sounds comical now. Not really. Maybe you think we old timers were pretty intolerant. Yeah, we do. But I can tell you there wasn't anything funny about the situation then. We were grim because we felt our lives and homes were threatened. And that was no laughing matter. Intolerant, you say. Well, we were frightened. There we go. Now we're getting to it. It's fear. Where's God? Where's God, man? Where's God in it? Naturally, we began to act like everybody else does when they're afraid. After all, isn't fear the true basis of intolerance? Yes, we were intolerant. How could we guess then that all those fears were to prove groundless? How could we know that thousands of these sometimes frightening people were to make astonishing recoveries and become our greatest workers and intimate friends? I don't know why it is. I know a little bit why, because it's kind of my experience, but I don't know like why. Was it credible that AA was to have a divorce rate far lower than the average? Could we then foresee that troublesome people were to become our principal teachers of patience and tolerance? Could any then imagine a society which would include every conceivable kind of character and cut across every barrier of race, creed, politics, and language with ease? I don't think they were expecting that. Okay. AA needs to be all inclusive. Now, Zoom does make it a little bit easier to feel that safety. My wife has found every single thing in order to be. Why did AA finally drop all of its membership regulations? And so, and now let's kind of take a look at the group thing, right? Because every group is autonomous. That means they run it how they run it. But there are certain things. Okay? This is the way I kind of see it. And you may agree with me, you may not, and either way is okay. Okay. There shouldn't be men's meetings. There shouldn't be women's meetings. There shouldn't be LGBTQ meetings. There shouldn't be any of them. No. There's open and closed, and that's all that it really should be. That's my belief. Is my belief. Okay. Now, does that mean I won't go to a men's meeting? Of course I'll go to a men's meeting. I've accidentally gone to a women's meeting before. They let me in. They let me in. So see, even though it's set for that, and there are benefits to it, don't get me wrong, there are benefits to it. But according to the traditions, there really shouldn't be those types of meetings, in my opinion. Okay. And that doesn't mean it's right. Probably more preference. I like the variety, man. I like hearing from different types of people. Not only that, but men really don't get into their feelings. I don't really get what I need to out of men's meetings quite often. How could these and blah, blah, when did AD finally drop? Why did we leave it to each newcomer to decide himself whether he was an alcoholic or whether he should join us? Why did we dare say, contrary to the experience of society and government everywhere, that we would neither punish nor deprive any AA of membership, that we must never compel anyone to pay anything, believe anything, or to conform to anything? See, conform. There is conformity a little bit, but not so much that, that we're the people in Pink Floyd The Wall. You ever see that? We're not lemmings. We're not a group of cows to be herded somewhere. No, I want your individual right to think and act the way that you want to. I may not agree with it. Right? Don't a lot of soldiers will tell you that, even if that person over there is not speaking the way that the person that went and fought the war for, they will say, no, I fought for that freedom and they had that right. They're not. No. Right? Maybe that person that had domestic violence cases never really had anybody that truly gave a fuck about them. So it came out in anger because that's the way they were taught. Do you believe that people can change? Because I do. I have to believe that. If I don't, I'm full of shit. Because I've changed. I've seen a lot of people change. I've seen violent people find serenity in their lives, and why should they not have a chance at it? Because they made some mistakes in their lives. Sure, there's some mistakes or some things in this life that I don't know that I can really jump on board for forgiveness. Yeah. But I'm not God. See? I'm not God. And there it is. There's my answer. I'm not God. Right? So, and it's a hard topic to kind of talk about when you get into it, because there are some dangerous people in the meeting, huh? Why should we not let bombers stay? Because they're not members. Right? The answer now seen in tradition 3 was simplicity itself. At last, experience taught us that to take away any alcoholic's full chance was sometimes pronounced as death sentence, and often to condemn him to an endless misery. Who dared to be judge, jury, and executioner of his own sick brother? I don't want to be. I used to think I was that, but I'm not. Right? Now, even here, you've seen people. They aren't really bombing. Been a while since somebody posted their mushroom stuff. I think they got the hint. Up on the list, don't fuck with Daily Trudge. No, because I push back. That's one thing bullies don't like about me. I push back. And I don't always think this, but sometimes violence is the answer. in my mind. And sometimes violence is the answer. Sometimes pushing back is kind of the answer. Okay. But I do not get to be the judge, jury, or executioner. I don't know what has happened in this person's life. I do not. Yeah. Go listen to the stories. Go listen to Leanna's story. Go listen to Leanna's story. She looks like a small, meek woman, but she's probably one of the strongest women I've ever fucking met. She's powerful. There's a reason I didn't invite her to Grassroots. I begged her. Grassroots is mostly just me, and I invited all my friends. Invited the people here. It's got to start somewhere. I'm doing it because the example in AA in Colorado sucks. It sucks, man. And so, like I was saying earlier, I could go to the group conscious to try and make changes. They don't want them though. So I'm just going to set the example. Like right now, I wish I could open an AA club so that people could go to meetings on a regular basis and have it. But I don't know how I can pull that off, man. All right. So I do what I can with the Zoom, and I've been inviting more people. I invited another person today who has found AA to be kind of bullshit, being bossed around, told what to do. Oh, you got to think this way. You got to think our way or the highway. No, all these rules and regulations for protection. Protection from what? Okay. The reason I don't go to a lot of in-person meetings around here is because people don't like what I have to fucking say. They don't. Because I will go into a meeting and say, there's like 5 recovery coaches in here trying to pick people up. Why are we doing this crap? Why are you allowing it to happen? Oh, well, they're allowed to be here. They say they're AA members. That's great. Okay. But I'm still going to say something. I don't like it. Okay. Did they kick me out? No. They didn't. So, all right. You know, I don't really fear people. What you do beat me up? Oh no. Oh no, did you? Okay. Been a while since somebody's threatened me, but I also stopped running around doing all that other crap. All right, let's get to this. All right. As group after group saw these possibilities, they finally abandoned all membership regulations. One dramatic experience after another clinched this determination until it became our universal tradition. Here are 2 examples. On the AA calendar, it was year 2. In that time, nothing could be seen but 2 struggling, nameless groups of alcoholics trying to hold their faces up to the light. A newcomer appeared at one of these groups, knocked on the door, and asked to be let in. He talked frankly with the group's oldest member. He soon proved that he was a desperate case and that above all, he wanted to get well. But he asked, will you let me join your group? Since I am the victim of another addiction, even worse stigmatized than alcoholism, you may not want me among you, or will you? There was the dilemma. What should the group do? The oldest member summoned 2 others and in confidence laid the explosive facts in their lap. Said he, well, what about it? If I turn this man away, he'll soon die. If we allow him in, only God knows what trouble will brew. What shall be the answer? Yes or no? The answer's going to be yes. Okay. Now, let's say this person's an addict. Okay. I know, because earlier I said, I know. If you're in a meeting of AA, you're an alcoholic. If you're in a meeting of NA, you're an addict. Just stick to the right arena. You don't need to be terminally fucking unique. I'm Dion and I'm an alcoholic. That's how we say it. It does not need to be more. It does not need to be less. There's a right arena for everything. A lot of people are dually diagnosed. A lot of people are in Overeaters Anonymous. So why is it that drugs get to get away with it? No, they don't. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to say there's a reason for it. Okay? And it's called being in the right arena, sticking to your side of the street. Stay in your lane. Stay in the lane, man. If you're in an AA meeting and you're an alcoholic, then just say alcoholic. Okay? Here's the thing is if let's say somebody says, my name's Dion, I'm an addict. I'm sorry, but you don't get to share. And you also don't get to put money in the basket. You are not a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You should be a member of NA. I know I kind of sound like a dick. Okay? And there's very, very good reasons for all of that. Now let's listen to this because there's going to be a little part in here. At first, the elders could only look at the objections. We deal, they said, with alcoholics only. Shouldn't we sacrifice this one for the sake of many? So with the discussion, while the newcomers' fate hung in the balance, then one of the three spoke in a very different voice. What are we really afraid of, he said, is our reputation. There it is. Found the fear. They found the fear. We're much more afraid of what people might say than the trouble this strange alcoholic might bring. As we have been talking, 5 short words have been running through my mind. Something keeps repeating to me. What would the master do? What would God do? Not another word was said. What more indeed could be said? Okay. Now, overjoyed, the newcomer plunged into 12-step work. Tirelessly, he laid AA's message before scores of people. Since it was a very early group, those scores have since multiplied. Now here it comes. Never did he trouble anyone with his other difficulty. AA had taken his first step toward the formation of Tradition 3. You're absolutely correct, Clara Joyce. In fact, I read it like 3 weeks ago. So, like I said, it's my experience. It's what I know. And yes, they did. There's a whole chapter. It's called Those Goofballs. Absolutely. Because there's a lot of people in AA, including myself, that when I got a prescription for, like, let's say Percocet, and it said, do not drink, I got excited. And I utilized prescription drugs and other drugs to enhance my alcoholic experience. Okay. All right. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not God. But I do have a lot of experience in this. Okay. I know that treatment for drug addiction is different than treatment for alcoholism, and I know because I used to work at treatment. You know, it's about the right thing in the right area. Okay. We are not term unique. It is not any different than saying I'm Dion, I'm a recovered alcoholic. Let's just start in a fight. Okay. At the same time, am I going to focus on whether or not they're saying I'm Dion, I'm an alcoholic addict, or am I going to listen to what they have to say? Probably the second one. I'm just I bring up hard shit. I want to talk about everyday stuff. So I appreciate if your experience is different, it's okay to say it here. I'm not going to get mad because you can't go against what I'm saying when it's your own experience. So it does about the drugs I did were pretty much the progression of the disease of alcoholism for me. See, and that works for you. And that's awesome. Yeah. In NA, they consider alcohol a drug, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. It's a matter of the connection of the language of the heart. Okay. Now, there's a few things there are a lot of things in common, but we tend to talk differently. not only that, but let's say I'm working with somebody who has a drug addiction, but then there's somebody over here who got through it and was in trap houses and these other dangerous places that I don't understand. That person is going to be able to help them more than me. That's what I'm trying to get after. Shooting the right people with the right people. Okay. That's kind of what I'm going after, right? That I can't think that AA is the cure all for everything when it's written this way. NA's big book is written differently than our big book, but it covers a lot of the same stuff. Al-Anon, same kind of thing, right? And there's no addiction there. Well, the addiction's people in that case, right? So, but all of these are correct. None of them are wrong. So thank you for sharing that, Clara Joyce. I appreciate it. I know sometimes I get this voice and it makes it sound like it's my way or the highway, but I don't really believe that. So nothing but alcohol gave me the ease and comfort. Yeah. There we go. You know, yeah. But see how we can kind of take that and put it in its place where it needs to be. So, but yeah, because I wanted more. You bet I did. So, not long after the man with the double stigma knocked for admission, AA's other group received into its membership a salesman we call Ed. Oh no, not Ed. Ed doesn't believe in God. A power driver, this one and brash as any salesman could possibly be. He had at least an idea a minute on how to improve AA. These ideas he sold to fellow members with the same burning enthusiasm which he distributed automill polish, but he had one idea that wasn't so sellable. Ed was an atheist. His pet obsession was that AA could get along better without this God nonsense. He browbeat everybody, and everybody expected that he'd soon get drunk. For at the time, you see, AA was on the pious side. There must be a heavy penalty, it was thought, for blasphemy. Distressingly enough, Ed proceeded to stay sober. I love that part. Distressingly enough. And there's people like this in AA, you bet. They don't run around and browbeat like this guy's kind of doing, right? Remember, it was pretty new then. So nowadays, yeah. If somebody got up there and said, oh, screw this God business, we don't need it, half the people would just get up and leave the room. They don't have to listen. It's probably what would happen, right? But they're not going to get booed off stage. They're not going to, because it is their experience, right? So anyway, let's find out some more about Ed. At length, the time came for him to speak in a meeting. We shivered, for we knew what was coming. He paid a fine tribute to the fellowship. He told how his family had been reunited. He extolled in the virtue of honesty. He recalled the joys of 12-step work, and then he lowered the boom. So what they're saying is he said a bunch of great stuff, but as soon as they said something that they didn't agree with, it all goes out the window. We call that throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what we call that. Shooting ourselves in our own foot. Okay. It's quite often I hear somebody, they'll say some great stuff. They say one thing that's out of line. I'm not going to stick on that anymore. I don't do that. I'm sure I do it too, where there's one thing in there that people just don't quite agree with, but they liked everything else I had to say. Not going to do, not going to do everything according to everybody's appeasement. Can't do that. Cried Ed, I can't stand this God stuff. It's a lot of malarkey for weak folks. This group doesn't need it, and I won't have it. To hell with it. He just called everybody weak, and that's probably not a way to go. A great wave outraged. Resentment engulfed the meeting, sweeping every member to resolve. Out he goes. Hey, Jimmy, good to see you, brother. So out he goes. Out goes Ed. Oh, this is a church. Right? They're up here saying, oh, that's blasphemy. What the fuck are you talking about? Right? No, it's not. Just because somebody goes against what you're thinking or saying, they should go. Right? How else are we going to learn patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love? And what about all the patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love that was given to me? Gary, good to see you, man. Good to see you. The elders led Ed aside. They said firmly, "You can't talk like this around here. You'll have to quit it or get out." With great sarcasm, Ed came back to them. "Now do tell. Is that so?" He reached over to a bookshelf and took up a sheaf of papers. On top of them lay the foreword to a book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And then, under preparation, he read aloud, "The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking." Relentlessly, Ed went on, "When you guys wrote that sentence, did you mean it or didn't you?" Dismayed, the elders looked at one another, for they knew that he had them cold, so Ed stayed. You know, the thing is if you start a group and you do it correctly, most of malarkey is going to stay out of it. That's been my experience. So what does it mean? It means the group needs to be even better of an example. That I need to be an even better example. That's what it means. But instead, we want to point at Ed and what Ed is doing wrong. Well, Ed's not doing anything wrong. Ed's being Ed. Ed's learning. Okay? Is Ed in denial? No, it's not for me to say. It is not for me to say. Ed not only stayed, he stayed sober month after month. The longer he kept dry, the louder he talked against God. The group was in anguish so deep that all fraternal charity had vanished. When, oh, when, groaned members to one another, will that guy get drunk? I can tell you right now, you say that around me, I will chew you a new ass. Oh, when's that going to get drunk? Oh, man, you're, woo. Yeah, I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. Can I call people Ed now? It'll be our little inside joke. It'll be our little inside joke about Ed. Thanks for a little laughter, Clara Joyce. I appreciate that. Quite a while later, Ed got a sales job, which took him out of town. That probably relieved everybody a little bit, right? At the end of a few days, the news came in. He sent a telegram for money, and everybody knew what that meant. Then he got on the phone. In those days, we go anywhere on a 12-step job, no matter how unpromising. But this time, nobody stirred. You'll get it. Now it's, can I call people Ad now? Your autocorrect is working really well. But this time, nobody stirred. Leave him alone. Let him try it by himself for once. Maybe he'll learn his lesson. About 2 weeks later, Ed stole by night into an AA member's house. Oh, man, you get your ass kicked doing that nowadays. I grew up, we didn't lock our doors, man. We didn't lock our doors. Was that odd or was it God? Right, so he broke into somebody's house, right? Daylight found the master of the house and another friend drinking their morning coffee. A noise was heard on the stairs. To their consternation, Ed appeared. A quizzical smile on his lips, he said, "Have you two had your morning meditation?" Woo-wee! They quickly sensed that he was quite in earnest, and fragments his story came out. Okay. Now, I'm glad that Ed ended up finding his higher power, but abandoning someone is not in my forte, man. Not my forte. I understand why, but I don't totally agree, man. In a neighboring state, Ed had holed up in a cheap motel. Maybe it needed to happen, and I'm wrong. That's perfectly plausible. But certainly not out of the realm. Ed had holed up in a cheap hotel After all his pleas for help had been rebuffed, these words rang in his fever mind. They have deserted me. I've been deserted by my own kind. This is the end. Nothing is left. Sounds like suicide. That sounds like suicide to Dion. See, that's why abandoning people scares me. So, as he tossed on his bed, his hand brushed the bureau near by touching a book. Opening the book, he read. It was a Gideon Bible. Ed never confided any more what he saw and felt in that room. It was the year 1938. He hasn't had a drink since. Nowadays, when old-timers who know Ed foregather, they exclaim, what if we had actually succeeded in throwing Ed out for blasphemy? What would have happened to him and all the others he later helped? So the hand of providence early gave us a sign that any alcoholic is a member of our society when he or she or they or them say so. Say it. It can't be any more. It can't be any less. Right? Could you imagine that you finally found a place? That you finally found a place after years of a tumultuous life, finally finding a place where you belong, just to be kicked out because you were a little different for the same reason that everybody else treated you like that, because you were an odd duck, because you were crazy, because you were toxic. See? Okay, these are calling somebody toxic is a judgment. It is name calling. It is new way of saying crazy. Oh, well, they're toxic. Okay. Toxic is not in the DSM-5. It is what we would call slang. It's what we would call slang. How would you feel if somebody called you toxic? Oh, Dion's toxic. See? Does it feel like you just got called a name? I'm not saying that there aren't some people out there that might be a little bit more mentally unstable than Dion. Of course there are. But what do we say? People could change. And if you can be a good example and you can do everything, you do everything that you can to do the right thing, it will help other people. See, I'm also the protector. Grassroots is full of a lot of odd ducks. You attract what you are. I'm an odd duck, man. I'm an odd duck. I'm okay with that. Quack, motherfucker, quack. Quack, 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 quack. Right? So, all right. I'll probably go to the 3 o'clock meeting. Because Leanna has been showing up to my 5 o'clock, so she kind of does the Sunday 3 p.m. So there's a lot of meetings that I go to, especially on the weekend, where I go to support other people. Yeah. Virtually Happy Treasures, I go to that to support other people. Meetings are all right. I get something out of it because, take what you can, leave the rest. God talks to his people, things like that. Absolutely. There was one guy in there today. He was on fire, man. It was awesome. It was awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy Sunday. Don't be an Ed. Yeah, Claire Joyce, we leave no one behind. I don't know why that one's kind of slipped by me. Yeah, we don't leave people behind. That's why I'm very careful that I don't judge other people's willingness. When I start sponsoring somebody, I tell them I'm a forever person. That means if you disappear and come back, I'll still be here. I may not be available to sponsor, but I will still be here. Yeah, I'm a forever person. And I've always done that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You're certainly welcome, Jimmy. Love you, brother. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out. And